Okay, y'all, we need to talk. I love a good pattern, I really do, but let me tell you, not all patterns are created equal. Over the years, I've learned that some just aren't worth my time, money, or energy. And listen, while I do get a little income from this channel through sponsorships and pattern sales, the majority of the patterns that I share on here, I buy with my own hard-earned money. Whenever I get a pattern from a designer or find one for free, I always make sure to fully disclose that. Y'all know I like to keep it real. I've even made videos breaking down exactly how much I spend on patterns in a year. And let's just say it can add up really quickly. So when I do spend money on a pattern, I expect it to be worth it. But some patterns, they're just an absolute no-go for me. So today we're diving into 8 types of crochet and knit patterns that I would absolutely never purchase and why you might want to avoid them too. Let's get right into it. Okay, first up, the absolute worst offender is poorly written patterns. Now let me be clear, I have no problem paying for a pattern if it's well written. There are some incredible designers out there who put out patterns that are worth every single penny, but at the same time, there are also tons of extremely well written patterns available for free. If you don't believe me, check out my free pattern playlist right here on YouTube. I've shared some amazing ones that won't cost you a dime. But here's where I draw the line. If I'm spending my hard-earned money on a pattern, I expect it to actually help me make the thing. There's nothing more frustrating than opening up a pattern and realizing that it's a hot mess. No stitch count, vague instructions, steps that seem to be missing entirely. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Just vibes and wishful thinking? I'll be the first to admit I am still fairly new to pattern writing myself, and I know I have areas where I can improve as a designer. But here's the difference. If someone reaches out to me with a question about my pattern, I want to help them, because at the end of the day, if you're putting a paid pattern out into the world, you're not just selling a design, you're selling an experience. People should be able to enjoy making your pattern, not feeling like they have to crack some ancient crochet or knit code. And honestly, I don't think that's asking too much. If you're charging money for your work, at least be open to answering questions and making sure that your customers get what they paid for. Because a great pattern isn't just about the design, it's about making the process as smooth and enjoyable as possible. Okay, this one really gets me. Copycat pattern. You know those designs that look suspiciously like another designer's work? Sometimes they barely even change a single stitch. If you've ever been scrolling through Etsy or Ravelry and thought, wait, didn't I just see that exact same pattern somewhere else? Yeah, big red flag. And let me tell you, I've learned the hard way just how messy the whole stolen pattern situation can really get. Buckle up, because this is a funny, not so funny story. So back in 2020, I made the Buttercup top by Daisy and Dime and did a YouTube video reviewing it. Just a simple little me-made lookbook, and I styled the top in like 3 ways, and I gave my thoughts on the pattern, and I moved on. Nothing crazy, the video did pretty well, and I didn't think anything about it. Fast forward to a few months later, and Daisy and Dime made a post on Instagram calling out a designer for stealing her pattern and posting it for free on YouTube. She was understandably hurt and upset, but she didn't publicly name the person. Well, her followers took it upon themselves to go on a manhunt, and guess who they decided to come for? Me. Now let's break this down. My video was literally titled Me Made Lookbook Buttercup Top Crochet Pattern Review, Daisy and Dime Styled 3 Ways. It was a 7-minute long video. There was 0 tutorial, 0 stitch instructions, 0 reason to think that I had stolen anything, but just based on the thumbnail alone, her followers were convinced that I was the person that had stolen the pattern. And y'all, they came for me hard. I got some of the most hateful comments I've ever seen in my life. Dislikes were rolling in left and right, and the worst part, this was all happening in the middle of my workday, so I had no idea what was going on. By the time I finally put the pieces together, I reached out to Daisy and Dime, and thankfully she was so kind. She immediately told her followers to back off because I had nothing to do with it, and we were both so confused why they targeted me of all people. And the cherry on top, after getting publicly dragged, I started receiving private apologies. Loud and wrong in public, quiet and regretful in private. So while I personally have never stolen another designer's pattern, I can tell you this, I never want to get caught up in that kind of mess again. And honestly, seeing how quickly people will turn on someone over stolen designs really reinforces why I will never support a copycat pattern. Not only is it shady, but it also disrespects the time, effort, and creativity that designers put into their work. If you want to sell patterns, just design your own pattern. Okay, I love a good challenge, I really do, but some patterns are just overcomplicated for no reason. If it takes 10 pages to explain what could be summed up in 3 simple rows, yeah, I'm gonna have to pass. At this point in my fiber journey, I know exactly what I am and am not capable of doing when it comes to knitting and crochet. Knit cables, no thank you. German short rows, hard pass. And look, I could learn those techniques if I really wanted wanted to, but the truth is I don't, and that's okay. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I can do far more in crochet than I can in knitting, but that doesn't mean I want to do everything in both. I like my projects to be enjoyable, not frustrating. And one thing I love about my channel is that it showcases gorgeous yet beginner-friendly patterns, and I really like to keep it that way. I want my viewers to feel inspired to pick up their hooks and needles, not overwhelmed from a 20-page PDF like an advanced calculus textbook. So yeah, if a pattern's doing too much for no reason, you can count me out. This one gets me every time. Patterns that only come in one size or barely have any size options. If I see fits most without actual measurements, I already know that it won't fit me. And honestly, that's just frustrating. Designers, please include multiple sizes. It's 2025. We have the technology, and there's no reason a pattern shouldn't accommodate a range of body types. Now, I will admit, there's at least one make of my channel that I absolutely love, despite it being one size, and that's the Bomber Bolena. That cardigan turned out amazing, but even with that one, the limited sizing affected me too. Let me be clear, I would never reveal the secrets of a paid design, but I did share how I adjusted the pattern so that more people could make it work for them. And honestly, I think I made it even more accessible. I want as many crafters as possible to feel confident in tackling projects that they love. With a channel like mine, I have way too many loyal followers to be out here showcasing patterns that only work for a select few. And look, I get it. Grading patterns for multiple sizes does take extra work. Not everyone loves doing the math, but at the very least, include the process. Show people how to adjust the pattern so they can create something that actually fits their bodies. Even if you don't provide every single stitch count, trust me, your audience will appreciate it. Okay, I love a colorful pattern just as much as the next person, but some patterns are an absolute nightmare when it comes to weaving in the ends. If I see a 20+ color change, I already know I'm setting myself up for regret. And trust me, I've learned this the hard way. Now I love this pattern, but let's talk about it. The Gertie Cardigan by Holly Woodward Design. Absolutely stunning, but the amount of ends to weave in is pure chaos. And for those of you wondering, yeah, it's been about 4 years now, and guess what? I still haven't taken the time or had the patience to finish weaving in all those ends. At this point, that cardigan is more of a beautifully unfinished masterpiece than something I actually wear. Nowadays, I'm all about working smarter, not harder. There are so many hacks to avoid endless weaving, and if I really want to keep things simple, I'll just grab a nice variegated yarn and call it a day. Less work, same impact. Because let's be real, who wants to spend hours weaving in tiny strands when they could be starting a whole new project instead? Some patterns look amazing, but I always have to take a step back and ask myself, would I actually use this? If the answer is no, then why am I spending hours or days or weeks making it? Now, I know for myself, right now with my minimalist lifestyle, I have zero interest in making a bunch of plushies and toys or decorative pieces that I have no use for and no space to store. I fully expect this to change one day, maybe when I become a parent or when my husband becomes a teacher, but for now, if a pattern is just gonna sit around collecting dust, I'd rather use that yarn for something else that I'd actually enjoy. And just like everything else on my list, this is just my personal preference. I know plenty of people that love making these types of projects, and that's awesome, but specifically for these next two, okay, I might ruffle some feathers because we're talking about specific categories of patterns. And let me be clear, I'm not here to offend anyone, I'm just keeping it real and sharing how I feel. So let's get into it. The 7th pattern I wouldn't make is crochet slippers. I really want to love them, but let's be real, they just never work out. They either stretch out after a few wears, or they feel too stiff to walk around in and feel like cardboard. And don't get me started on the grip. Unless you glue an entire rubber sole to the bottom, they turn into homemade ice skates real quick. And you'd think adding a whole sole would help, right? No. If I already didn't like the pattern, adding a big chunky sole just makes me hate it even more. I genuinely don't understand how crochet slippers got so popular. I feel like I've seen them my entire crochet journey, and I've yet to see a pair that makes me say, yeah, I need to make those. I know some of y'all love crochet slippers, and that is totally fine. But for me, I'm just gonna sit this one out and buy my slippers from a store. I need something comfy, cozy, and functional without the extra DIY frustration. I'm not even gonna put a picture on the screen because I don't want anyone to get mad at me for this take. This one is just not for me. Okay, last on my list, we have crochet bikinis and swimsuits. Now I get it, they look cute, they photograph beautifully, and they give off this effortless, boho beachy vibe. But let's be real, have you ever actually worn one in water? That thing absorbs every single drop of water and stretches out faster than a wet paper towel. One good wave and I'm sure there's a wardrobe malfunction incoming. And listen, it's not even a debate about aesthetics, it's about functionality. Every crochet swimsuit I've seen is styled like a bralette or a cute tank top. Why do we never see people actually swimming in them? It's giving false advertising to me. me. Because if you can't confidently cannonball into a pool without worrying about your swimsuit sagging to your knees, is it even a swimsuit? Also, if I'm being totally honest, I don't think I've ever worn a bikini in my life. It's just not really my style. So you already know I'm not about to spend hours crocheting or knitting one. I'd rather use that time making something that I'd actually wear and feel comfortable in. But hey, if crochet swimsuits are your thing, more power to you. Just don't expect to see me making one anytime soon. So there you have it, 8 brutally honest crochet and knit patterns that I would never purchase. Were any of these a shocker? Or do you have a pattern that you deeply regret buying? You know the kind that had you staring at your yarn like, why did I do this to myself? Let's talk about it in the comments below, because I know there are some wild patterns out there that I probably need to add to my not to-do list. If you enjoyed this video and love all things knit and crochet, hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a video. It's free, it takes 2 seconds, and unlike weaving in ends, it won't make you question your life choices. Okay, that's it for me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.